Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a highly requested, highly sought after, and video idea that I've put a lot of thought and time into. And so I hope you guys appreciate this. This is not a top 10 ranked video on Chypres. Now, Chypres are my favorite, one of my favorite categories, let's say. And how I decided to do this was, instead of just ranking 80 Chypres and just calling it a day, which is very hard for me to do because, number one, a couple of things, but number one, Chypres are one of the most, they're really one of the most shape-shifting, many of these fragrances have many transitions, okay? Many of them are extremely complex. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like linear scents, if you want to smell a fragrance that changes over time on your skin, if you want to smell a fragrance that goes through multiple transitions, many times Chypre fragrances are for you. They would be your type of scent. Also, if you like mossy, mysterious, resinous scents, Chypres are for you. And so there is a tale behind Chypres. I would urge you to go watch my original video I did. This is not a top 10 Chypre where we just talked about them. I didn't rank them. And so, because there's a lot of background that I went through on that video, talked about how Chypre means Cyprus, but not Cyprus the note, Cyprus the island, which is where one of the oldest perfumery shops or setups that they found in human history exists. And I think you can even still visit that place today if memory serves. Can't remember all the details because it's been a while since I've done that video and talked about it. But Aphrodite slept on a bed of mosses, and in Chypre fragrances, moss is the base. It's a mossy fragrance base. And today we're going to talk about leather Chypres, my favorite type of Chypres. Well, to be honest, I love all types of Chypres, but leather Chypres I'm very fond of. So we're going to do a top 15 today, okay? And we're going to do a top 15 with one honorable mention. And I do have a little bit of a confession to make. I had a fragrance come in today, and I was going to do an unboxing on the channel, but my wife actually unboxed it. She unboxed it for me accidentally. She thought it was her box. For her, she opened it up and bam, it was one of my fragrances. So it was just sitting on my desk when I came in. So here we go. I'll just show you guys real quick. I know I like to keep you guys in the loop. I know some people don't like unboxing videos. Some people do. I like them, so I'm going to continue to do them. But the fragrance that came in the mail today is an Orto Parisi. And here was the box. Now, obviously, this is not the box it came in. It was another box that she opened up. But this is Orto Parisi Quoium. Now, I am very excited for this. Well, first of all, look at the leather sleeve around the bottle. How cool is that? There's like a real leather sleeve with this piece of artwork on the front, which kind of looks like a little bit of maybe a tree growing from out of the ground, maybe, blood vessels, maybe, what does that look like to you guys? There is this, there's the, it kind of looks like, the inside of someone's lungs, doesn't it? Or you've got the infinity symbol there, the infinity symbol there. This is my very first Orto Parisi bottle, by the way. I have a new infatuation. I sprayed, yeah, here it is. I sprayed Sturkis yesterday. One of my perfume god people sent me Sturkis, and I am infatuated with it. I need a bottle of this. It reminds me a little bit of Salvatore Ferragamo's Testa di Moro, which they both came out the same year, interestingly enough. I swear there's some sort of weird connection between these perfumers when they do stuff the same year. Like they're all sharing the same, little molecules that are popular that year. But Sturkis is better than the Salvatore Ferragamo. So I am very much looking forward to wearing Quoium and getting a bottle of Sturkis and maybe even a couple others maybe even a couple other Orto Parisi fragrances, but they don't put the note listings out on these. Orto Parisi does not put out the note listings, interestingly enough. So people guess, there's a guess that somebody made that I saw. Quoium. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Quoium, I guess is how you pronounce it. I have no clue what this is, but it does feel like there's maybe a little bit of leather right here. The cap is like, it looks metal, but, you know, plastic cap with that metal ring outside. From the atomizer, it smells like it's going to be exactly right up my alley. Like it's going to be something I'll absolutely love. It's a 2021 release, and it's leather. What they're guessing is leather, incense, violet, vanilla, black pepper, cade wood, cedar, labdanum, and patchouli. So I'm excited, very excited to add my first Orto Parisi to the collection. More to come. Okay, so that is the unboxing, if you will. My wife sped up the process. So let's do scent of the day. Scent of the day is a very underrated, animalic, citrusy, leathery, birchy, beautiful birch in this fragrance. Maybe one of the best birch fragrances I've ever smelled, and definitely one of the most underrated leather fragrances I've ever smelled. Definitely, hardly anyone talks about this. I remember when I first got this, raving to Rich Mitch. I mean, literally like drooling all over this fragrance, texting him about how amazing this fragrance is. And he actually went and sourced from Italy because they would ship to him. The sellers wouldn't ship to the United States, so I couldn't use them. But he sourced the original splash bottles that came in like a square splash, which are impossible to find. He got an absolute deal. And since then, he's gone on to collect way more from this house than I have. But this is my love. This is an absolute love for me. And you know what? I wore this to work today. And it just, you know, wearing my favorite fragrances just puts me in a certain headspace and mood. And I need to find a way to wear my favorites more. I mean, I know I test a lot of new stuff and all that stuff, but I need to make it like every other day I wear one of my favorites. Like I can't go months and months without wearing stuff like this because I love this. This is called Etro Gomma. Now, this is the vintage eau de cologne. The modern eau de toilette I've never smelled, but my guess is that it would still be good because Etro is a house that I really respect. And this was made by the great, the amazing Edward Fleischier. And it's bergamot, lemon, tarragon, caraway, artemisia, lavender, rose, jasmine, ylang ylang, clove, birch, sandalwood, patchouli, cedar, vetiver, and vanilla. Woody and smoky and leathery. What a fragrance, man. Pure love for me. I'm going to get some test strips because I'm going to want to spray. I am going to want to spray some of these fragrances today. Because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've smelled some of these. And so I want to refresh my memory on some of them. So let me get a pen and write where I'm going to spray so I don't forget. Let's see. Okay. This was Sturkis. All right, that's from earlier. This was 31 Rue Cambeau from the other day. Still smells stunning. The iris in 31. Oh my God, it is unbelievable. And so we're going to begin with Cabochard. Cabochard. So Cabochard is the honorable mention. Let's spray this bad boy. So the reason that it's an honorable mention. So the reason that Cabochard is an honorable mention. Okay. And to be fair to Cabochard, it is an amazing fragrance, okay? It's great. This is a great fragrance, and this could easily be on my top 15 leather Chypres. But there is an issue that I have with Cabochard. The issue is that I prefer Aramis more, which is by the same perfumer. And Aramis came out a couple years after Cabochard. So interestingly enough, Bernard Chant, who did Cabochard and Aramis, he also did Aromatics Elixir, and he did Aramis 900. And so he has this, he did Alliage, and he also did, or did he do Alliage? I can't remember. But he did, there was an Aramis fragrance called Devon that I think smells like Alliage. I think he did Alliage. I want to say he did, but I can't remember. But he has this trend, basically, of doing a woman's fragrance and then doing a man's fragrance, and them both smelling very similar, okay? And basically what this is a proper leather Chypre, okay? Everything on this list is pretty much going to be. With this beautiful Persian galbanum opening. Beautiful galbanum, lovely, amazing. With Comorian Ylang Ylang, Bulgarian Rose, Jasmine from Grès, I'm getting some of the florals now, Moroccan Oak Moss, Bourbon Vetiver, Tibetan Musk, Indonesian Patchouli, and I get this smoky, you know, almost like cigarette feel. Okay, it doesn't necessarily smell like you're smelling smoke or that you're smelling cigarettes on your clothes or something like that. But there is this, you know, I always think about a woman smoking for some reason. I think about a woman in a trench coat in the cold at a diner, you know, smoking a cigarette for some reason when I smell this. It has that, a little bit of that rough and tumble vibe to it. But many of these leather Chypres will. That's the nature of the beast when you're talking about leather Chypres, okay? So this bottle is an older bottle, and I was told by someone I trust very much, Simon, who you'll see in the comments all the time, and he says that the newest version of Cabochard, 2019 or 2020 or whenever it came out, is amazing and worth the money, worth buying. It's that good. Like, they did one of the best reformulations he's ever smelled. Now, to be fair, I have never smelled it, but I'll take his word for it. I do trust his word. So, Cabochard is the honorary mention because there's another Bernard Chant fragrance that reminds me very much of Cabochard that is much higher in the list. Okay, so number 15. Let's get through this because this video is going to take 20 hours otherwise. Number 15 is what I think to be the best leather Chypre money can buy on a budget, okay? If you have $10 or $20 to spend and you want to understand what a leather Chypre is all about, here it is. This is Original Denim by the House of Denim. And this came out in 1975. This is the Eau de Toilette. In some places, you can find this for $5. Okay? I mean, look at the cap. The cap is one of the worst caps of all time. The atomizer is shite. The bottle's cool. But forget about the atomizer. Forget about the shite cap. The fragrance inside of this is stunning. Okay? It feels like this should be in, you know, a Roja Dove bottle. It really feels like it should be in something very high class. It's marketed by this company, Contour or Coda, I'm not sure, but I've never really heard of them before, but they must take pride in their work because this is absolutely amazing work. Now, to be fair, it's an amazing fragrance. The perfumer who made it, who I can't seem to find at the minute, did a fantastic job. But don't write this off because it's $5 or $10. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. This punches way, way above its weight class. You would have to spend huge amounts of money nowadays to get a proper leather Chypre like this, for this quality. It opens up. Actually, I want to spray it because it's been a while. Let's see, Denim. Spicy. Yeah, spicy, woody, and a little fresh is how it opens. Green, basil. Orange blossom. You get this fresh orange blossom accord. It almost tricks you. It almost will, you know, make you think it's going in one direction. But then the spices start to come in, and you really start to get reminded of fragrances from the 1970s. So you're going to get things like bay leaf, sage, vermouth, patchouli, cedar in the heart. It's a little bit woody. I'm starting to get some of the wood now and the spices. The lemon is very prominent still. Cabochard turned more smoky already. And what ends up happening is this lemony, slightly, you know, I don't want to say playful, but there is something very bright about the opening. The orange blossom adds this brightness, okay? It adds this natural freshness to it, but that only lasts for a couple of minutes. It's already turning. And what happens is, from memory, what happens is that the spices start to take over, and you really start to feel like you're wearing a 70s fragrance. Like you start to feel like you're wearing, you know, a Bogart from 1975. Same year, interestingly enough. I pulled this out just because it reminded me of original Denim. I mean, the spices in it will remind you of a 70s, a classic 70s. Even the spices in Paco Rabanne pour Homme. Those kind of 70s fragrances, okay? Very green. Very aromatic. Aromatic is a good word. Spicy, woody, aromatic, but it's the dry down where you really will start to feel the power of this fragrance. The beautiful oak moss, the leather, the masculinity. There is a touch of tonka, but it's not sweet, okay? It's not modern tonka by any stretch of the imagination. There is also cinnamon, cardamom, and pepper in the base. And so what happens is you can kind of see the triangle beginning to form. You get that lemony, fresh orange blossom that fades pretty quickly. The spices in the heart really kind of last a lot longer. So the bay leaf, the sage, the vermouth, it hangs around a little bit longer. But it blends beautifully into the pepper, cardamom, and cinnamon, okay? And even though there's a little bit of warmth of cinnamon and a little bit of tonka bean, a little bit of that almondy tonka, if you will, it's not sweet. This is not sweet at all. There's zero sweetness here. And the leather note. The leather note is spot on. And there's just something about all of these fragrances you're going to notice a common theme. And it's that leather oak moss combination. And this is why, this is a great, you know, example of why Ifra killed Chypres. They just did. I mean, the genre will never be the same without oak moss, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter what molecule they say they came up with. They say, oh, we found this molecule that impersonates oak moss 99% or whatever it is. Bullshit. It doesn't impersonate it to my nose. I can tell. Now, this is not necessarily a vintage, okay? But many of these fragrances you're going to see are vintages. So they're older versions with the oak moss in them. And it's vital. It's so vital. You know, it's like removing the heart of a person and asking them to still live. You know, if you were hooked up to a machine that pumped the blood for you, could you potentially live for a little bit? Maybe. But that's not living, right? And that's the crap they're giving us nowadays with the modern Chypres. We need oak moss back. Oak moss is such a vital part. And so, again, I'm splitting this video up into two parts. Tomorrow we're going to do the green, and we're going to do the fruity and floral Chypres, okay? Today we're doing the leather Chypres. And some of them that have a slight touch of leather but are also fruity, I made decisions on where they go. So if you don't see the fragrances you're expecting today, wait till tomorrow. All right, there's going to be a part 2 to this because this is a massive video and it's extremely important to me because Chypres are one of my true loves. There's a touch of sweetness coming out in Cabochard that you really kind of notice after smelling Denim. Never noticed very much sweetness in Cabochard before. Okay, so let's let those sit for a bit and let's go to number 14. Now, number 14 is a newer addition to my collection. And I'm just going to, I'm going to take this dipstick and I'm going to dip it in this little blotter because this is a splash. And this fragrance came out in 1980. And it is discontinued, unfortunately. But if you can find a bottle, do it. It's worth it. I have the Eau de Cologne. The Eau de Toilette is equally amazing from what I hear. In fact, one of my subscribers who I really trust said the Eau de Toilette's even better. But I've never smelled it, so I can't speak to that. Hang on, let me see how I'm going to do this. Maybe I can fold this. Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. So, we got a little bit on the end. So it opens up very green, extremely green, and lots of pimento. I think pimento is one of the main notes in the opening with citruses. So green, citruses, pimento, and maybe a touch of this sweaty clary sage. Masculine, sweaty. You know, imagine a man who is out and about working outside. They haven't taken a shower that day. You get this sweaty sheen off of them, you know, and when sweat kind of dries on a body, it leaves a little bit of this salty sweatiness to it. That's what the clary sage smells like in Versailles Pour Homme. But immediately I'm already getting a little bit of fruitiness, just a touch. So there is some fruity bits here and there, but there's old school carnation, you know, green and spicy that you'll get in the heart. And it blends very quickly with a note of stone pine. So you get the stone pine, you get this classic geranium mixing with the carnation. It's already changing, okay? So that top is already beginning to dive into the mid, and the base is already beginning to come out. I'm starting to get some of the resins and the leather and oak moss. And since this is a vintage, you know, oak moss has this almost like it just reaches in there and just tickles your nose, you know? That's the way that oak moss feels to me. When I smell good, real oak moss from the old days, it feels like it just goes tickle, tickle, tickle on your nose. Which sounds insane, but it really is one of the best way to describe it because it has this, your nose picks up this texture. Like, even from the atomizer, when we get to number 1 today, and it's a fragrance I've talked about before, but I think it's the best representation of what a leather Chypre is. When we get to number 1 today, I don't even have to spray it. I can just take the cap off and smell it. And I just get the most amazing oak moss just pouring out of the nozzle, okay? And that can't be recreated, you know, and now you're getting the resins, the moss. There's a little bit of lemony frankincense, but it's not smoky. So whereas Cabochard is smoky, Versailles Pour Homme's frankincense is lemony and fresh, okay? So it's fresher, and God, it's good. And there's something about this fragrance that reminds me of a fragrance that's coming up very soon. And when we get there, I'll tell you which one it is. But Versailles Pour Homme, I just got some of the cinnamon. It's beautiful. It's such a great fragrance. And, you know, it just feels like this is what we've been missing. I swear if houses would put stuff out like this today, maybe it wouldn't sell. I mean, maybe that's the problem, is it wouldn't sell. But God, I miss stuff like this. Oh, fuck. I mean, you know, once you've kind of went through the niche world and you've tried a bunch of things and been disappointed over and over and over and over, and you kind of smell stuff that smells the same, and you know, you make connections with perfumers you like and perfumers you don't like. And you see these perfumers just, you know, putting amber woods in the base and that's it, and walking away. Or, you know, this never happened back in 1980. No perfumer just stuck amber woods in the base and walked away, you know? They spent time on this and effort, and this is so fucking good. Oh, God. Maybe I shouldn't put any more on blotters because I'm just going to sit here and ooh and ah all day over it. But what a treat this is. I mean, I really do feel blessed to be able to just turn around in my collection, grab something like Versailles Pour Homme, and sniff it and wear it and break it down. I mean, what a blessing this is. So there's a little bit of fruity nuances going. I can't even say I would tell you what type of fruit it is, but a slight fruity nuance. But it's so professionally, masterfully done that it doesn't feel childish at all. It feels extremely professional, extremely buttoned up, and I'll tell you the fragrance that the leather reminds me of when we get there. Okay, next let's talk about one of my favorite rose scents of all time. This is a spicy leathery rose, okay, leather Chypre rose, and it's called Van Cleef and Arpels Pour Homme. Let me clean the bottle for you. Look at that. Almost like looking at this bottle reminds me of looking at like a jewel. Look at this. I mean, Van Cleef and Arpels are jewelry makers. But look how beautiful and simplistic the bottle is with the built-in sprayer. I love built-in sprayers. I mean, doesn't this just look like a work of art? I mean, it's so clean and yet beautiful. You know, the multi-layer, like you're just stepping up to another level. Like you're down here, and then you try Van Cleef and Arpels, and you just step your game up, you know? Van Cleef and Arpels Pour Homme is one of my favorite rose scents of all time. I'll just say that right there. This is a very complex scent, okay? I don't even have to spray this. I know this one like the back of my hand. This is my second bottle. I have 100 ml. This is my 50 ml. And this fragrance is a shapeshifter, and it's challenging, and that's why I love it. I love challenging scents, but it opens up with old school lavender, green myrtle, you know, almost like this fizzy. There's no aldehydes, but the juniper almost makes it feel like you're getting this aldehydic hit in the opening with nutmeg. Nutmeg keeps everything in the box. Nutmeg is the referee, okay? It makes sure none of the notes go anywhere crazy. And you get this green artemisia, spicy carnation, a little bit of clove, and this rose that just is dark and deep. And almost like a caricature of a rose, you know, almost like if you blew a rose up, you know, to huge size. You know those drawings that they make of you at like Six Flags or Disney's, and it's like a caricature of the person. Imagine that someone's drawing you holding this gigantic, enormous rose that doesn't fit in the photo. It's here, okay? That rose is here. And the dry down is this big Chypre accord, big oak moss, big labdanum. All of the pieces are there. Bergamot in the top, which the Chypre accord is bergamot in the top, labdanum, and oak moss. With usually you'll see like patchouli or rose or something like that with it as well. Maybe some woods, you know, it depends on what kind of Chypre you're trying to make. But here, I've worn this fragrance before, and I've thought, my God, this feels soapy and clean. Like, this feels like a 70s masculine, soapy, clean fragrance. And remember, there was a fragrance I reviewed recently that Duncan sent me a sample of very kindly called Lancetti Uomo, which I'm still looking for a bottle of. I want a bottle of that. It was like 80 or 81 it came out. It has this contrast to it, you know, with that dirtiness and the cleanliness. And the cleanliness was like this soap accord that came in the mid. I swear there's a hidden soap accord in the mid of this. And it comes and it goes. It messes with you. You think you're smelling this deep, dark, heavy, masculine rose. And then you smell this soapy cleanness. and then you smell this dirty resinous labdanum, and then you smell this leather. And the leather here, when I smell it, when the leather accord seems to step to the front. And the problem is, Rich Mitch reviewed a fragrance recently, Eau Noir, and he said, when I try to smell a note, there it is, right? He said, with Eau Noir, when I try to smell Immortelle, there it is. When I try to smell labdanum, there it is. When I try to smell coffee, there it is. This fragrance is the opposite of that. This fragrance, notes step forward and step back on their own. So you'll be wearing the fragrance, and all of a sudden this leather accord will just jump out, and you'll say, holy shit, huge castoreum, huge leather, right? And then it'll be gone. It'll step back, and the resins will step to the front, and you'll get this big swirling labdanum, frankincense, Chypre. And oh man, Gomma is so freaking beautiful. And then the rose will step to the front. The patchouli will step to the front. I mean, this is one of my favorite masculine fragrances of all time. This could easily be a signature scent for me. Easily. 1978. Van Cleef and Arpels pour Homme. Hire me as your marketing director. Step your game up, Van Cleef and Arpels. I'll find some good stuff for you. But yes, it is... I can't believe they discontinued this. I cannot believe they discontinued this. They better have a damn good reason. It better be we couldn't get materials anymore. Okay, that was number 13. Number 12. Number 12 is a Roja. There's multiple Rojas on the list, okay? Actually, there's only two. This is one. This is a Roja's interpretation of one of my favorite leather fragrances of all time, and I'm going to call it a leather Chypre. Well, this is definitely a leather Chypre. I'm going to call even my favorite, Bel Ami, a leather Chypre. I think it's close enough for, we'll call it. I'll be the referee. But Fetish pour Homme is number 12. And I don't have to spray this one either because I know this like the back of my hand. And I do love this scent, I must admit. There's a slight, very slight, much slighter than with Creation E. But when you first spray this, you get the very tiniest bit of cola vibe, okay? Almost like the way that the benzoin and stuff like that is used here is very similar to what they did with Creation E somehow. I don't know why it gives me that, but it's only for a second and it's gone. And what you're kind of left with is this Bel Ami DNA that Roja tinkered with. And what he did is he kept the bergamot in the top because, he's he loves classical fragrances. He does. And that's why I have to tip my hat to him because so do I. And he loves the Chypre the best. Chypres are his thing, just like mine. He loves labdanum, just like I do. So we do share many of those features in common. And so what he did with Fetish pour Homme, this came out in 2012. And he knew this DNA because he worked with PureDistance M, which is discontinued and higher in my list. And he created PureDistance M. And so he knows this DNA because he just worked on it a couple years ago. He may have even still had it fresh in his brain from working on it. So what he did is he took that Bel Ami DNA and he twisted it a little bit here and a little bit there. He added fig, which many of wears that I've done of this, I didn't get the fig. And then finally, I think the last time or two I wore it, I got the fig. But it really is kind of covered up by this smoky labdanum, resinous elemi, kind of covers up the fig. And you're left with a floral heart, jasmine from grass, neroli, and violet. Violet is the twist. There's no violet in Bel Ami, or, he's kind of putting his own twist here. So violet. And a base of cardamom, cinnamon, elemi, oak moss, patchouli, pepper, vetiver, ambergris, benzoin, pink pepper, labdanum, leather, musk, and vanilla. And basically, the main difference outside of the small differences like the fig and violet is the smoke. This is a much more smoky, think incense burning in church, okay? that's mixing in with the base of lab denim and leather and stuff like that to give you what Fetish turns into. And it is beautiful. I will admit, it is. I love it. I'm glad to have a bottle. Since I have 4 bottles of Bel Ami now, I don't think I would ever buy another bottle of Fetish, but I'm glad to have it. Okay, number 11 is the aforementioned fragrance that I said Versailles pour Homme kind of reminds me of in the dry down, and it's Aramis. Aramis Aramis from 1964. It's also the fragrance that beat out Cabochard. These are the same perfumers, and I prefer Aramis for men. Now, but again, Cabochard is still amazing, and maybe... Oh, it is very good. Maybe one day I'll do a comparison video, but for now, we'll just say that I prefer Aramis. It is... When I smell Aramis, it does something to my brain, okay? There's this... God. It's so distinct. It's so spot on. There's this aldehydic, artemisia, gardenia, bergamot, clover, and thyme is the opening. So there is one perfumer and one only who can do aldehydes in a way that is just out of this world. There is no other perfumer before or after. Well, maybe you could say Ernst Beau. Okay, Ernst Beau and Bernard Chant are the 2 aldehydic kings, but Bernard Chant just does things with aldehydes that are out of this world. And the aldehydes in the top of Aramis give it this jump start, like you just shocked it with. It's almost like you took those paddles they used to bring your heart back to life, and you just shocked the fragrance to get going. And the aldehydes just kickstart everything, like a big bang explosion. You know, everything just goes outwards. And you get clove and orris and jasmine, cardamom, clary sage, myrtle, amber, tree moss, castoreum, leather, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, and vetiver. And so I'll give you guys a tip. There are bottles of this, older bottles, that actually say cologne on the front instead of eau de toilette. If you find these older bottles that say cologne, like I found this one for like 12 bucks. Many people don't know what they have. They just think, oh, it's Aramis. Shit, I don't want that. Not realizing it's a vintage bottle of Aramis. The ones that say cologne are the older bottles. Whether it looks like this in a splash, or whether it looks like the regular Aramis bottles in a spray, the new ones are eau de toilette. They're not cologne. So if you find a cologne, you found yourself an older bottle, and they're out there. I mean, I've been following one on eBay for like a year. No one's bought it. It's like 40 bucks, you know. So cheap. And what value for money? I mean, sky high value for money. This is one of the best leather classic masculines ever created, ever. So when you get tired of just smelling shit fragrance after shit fragrance, these new niche houses are pumping out and putting $200, $300, $400 price tags on them like they're going out of style. Just, you get $200, you get $300, you get a $400 price tag, and you're tired of that shit? Go spend 10 bucks on this, and it will knock you for a six. This will knock you out of your chair. If you've never smelled this before, this will shock you. And remember, all good perfume should shock you the first time you smell it. That will shock you. Okay, so I struggled with where to put this because I think it's an amazing fragrance, even in this form, but this is the reformulated bottle, if you will. I don't have the original. I wish I had the original. I have people keeping an eye out for the original, but I can't find the original. So I'm putting this here with an asterisk because, you know, the original may be #1. It may be the greatest fragrance of all time, but I think I have a pretty good grasp on it. From what I hear from people who bought the original and told me about it, I think this is a pretty damn good reformulation. You know, going in blind, not knowing what the original smells like, it's so hard to find. This is a unicorn's unicorn, and it's from the year 1980, and it's called Macassar. And Macassar is a Rochas fragrance. The perfumer is Nicholas Mamounas and Roger Pellegrino. Roger Pellegrino is a classic nose. So, God, this is so good. Woody and spicy. Okay, opens up very green, piney. So tarragon, one of my favorite notes in the opening. If I ever make my own fragrance, bet your bottom dollar tarragon's going to be in there. And maybe a slight fruitiness, but the fruitiness is just completely overcome by everything else, okay? The fruitiness is just overtaken by all of the masculinity, okay? So there's a little bit, maybe the slightest bit of fruits in the top, but it's just completely overwhelmed. I mean, it is so green. This is the Hulk. This is the Incredible Hulk. Okay, this is the green king of fragrances of the vintage game to me. It is, you take a green fragrance like Polo, which came out a couple years before this in '78, right? That's so well balanced. It's got the green pine, the leather, the tobacco, all of this, stuff is just perfectly placed. This almost feels overdosed green when you first spray, and then it starts to make this comeback. Like if you don't like it when you first spray it, all you have to do is wait 10, 15 minutes because this thing does this bounce back hard, like a drunk guy falling on a bed, bam, and then they bounce back, right? This thing seriously does some shifting and changing, and the transitions are stunning. The quality of the ingredients is stunning. And this castoreum oak moss leathery dry down, it's so woody and so spicy, and yet that Incredible Hulk greenness never really leaves the scent. I mean, it fades, it begins to transition. It's there from the very beginning, heavy, and slightly ambery, slightly musky in the dry down, but it's that castoreum leather, man. That castoreum leather of the 80s was unmatched, unrivaled. It's a shame it's gone. And then the oak moss, and I mean, what a fragrance. If you see this bottle for 60, 70 bucks, because it's not a vintage, let's say people don't want it, grab it. If you don't have it, grab it. This is a good fragrance. I'll tell you that right now. 100% good fragrance. I've never smelled the vintage, so I can't say it's as good as the vintage. I doubt it is, but it is very good. Okay, number 9 is the second Roja on the list. And number 9 is this little bad boy. This is Roja's Great Britain in the insane box. Like angels are going to come down from the sky and sing when I open it. Hallelujah. But in a nutshell, is it an amazing leather? Yes, it absolutely is an amazing Chypre leather. This is a Russian leather, okay? Would be the technical name for it. And, I mean, the presentation, you have to give it to Roja. I mean, it is beautiful. Look at that presentation. Stunning, right? The color of the juice, the purple little cap, the bedazzled diamonds. And so, Great Britain is a leathery, woody Chypre that will remind you a little bit of... there was a fragrance that came out a year before this by the House of Dior called Quirquinage. This is an improved Quirquinage, okay? That's how I would describe it to you. An improved Quirquinage. The iris in this, some of the best iris I've ever smelled in my life. The iris and ambrette combo, it'll blow your mind. The ingredients that you smell are all of the highest quality, okay? The reason it's not higher on this list is that while I definitely think it's a proper Chypre fragrance, it's got the bergamot top, it's got the labdanum, it's got the leather, it's got the oak moss. It has this Russian leather feel that makes it almost feel a little bit different from just the classic leather Chypres we're talking about. There is something very modern, though, and very wearable about this, even though it's old school. So it's based on Chanel's Cuir de Russie, and I think it's based on a very old Caron, a very old vintage Caron fragrance called, what's it called? It's called, give me a second, I'll tell you. It's called Tabac Blonde. Okay, so I think this is based on Tabac Blonde, because Tabac Blonde from 1919 by Caron was leather, carnation, iris, vetiver, vanilla, and amber. And this really does feel like Roja has a vintage bottle of Tabac Blonde, and he like reverse engineered it, okay? It really feels like he modernized it. Iris, leather, he added that styrax that he loves, that wispy, waxy, you know, almost like wax paper styrax, labdanum, leather, ambergris. There's a ton of ambergris in here, apparently. Hard for me to say if that's true or not, but I will say that there is a sad rumor that this is no longer on the Roja website, and I did verify it. It's gone. It's not there. There's no Great Britain anywhere. So if it's being discontinued, that's a shame, because this is one of my favorite Rojas. Granted, it's insanely expensive, but if you can find a bottle for, I don't know, $600, $700, $800, all over it. That's a steal. So, Great Britain down. Next, number 8. So that was number 9. Number 8 was really hard for me to place, because I knew instantly as soon as I smelled it that this was one of the greatest leather fragrances that was not in my collection, okay? Because I just got this year. Excuse me. It's by the house of Pascal Morabito, and it's called OR Black. That's how it comes, in this kind of tacky packaging. Mudasir got this for me. But look, short ingredient list. Can you see that? Short ingredient list. Alcohol, fragrance. That's it. So it must be kind of old. And apparently this Pascal Morabito guy was obsessed with doing artwork in this weird, like, construction, like, you know, style with, you know, screws and go check out his artwork and you'll kind of see what I mean. I don't know what it's called, but he does lots of this construction work style art. Fuck, it's so fucking good. I can't believe I didn't have this before. For someone like me, 1981 this came out. Bergamot. It's a leather Chypre. Of course, you're going to have bergamot, you're going to have labdanum, you're going to have leather. You're going to have oak moss. Pepper and leather. Now, the leather's in the top, interestingly enough. So you get this leathery top with sage, benzoin, and cistus. And this is probably one of the most resinous of all of the scents in this list. So if you like resins, if you like labdanum, this is one of the best cistus labdanum fragrances I've ever smelled. Now, it's new to my collection, so I'm not going to put it up there with the, you know, I'm not going to put it up there with the Les Lions and, you know, my all-time favorite labdanums instantly, but it's very close. I mean, if it's not in that league, it's one step below it just because I haven't mentally notched it there in my head. The benzoin, the cistus, the sage keeps it very masculine, and there's this beautiful ambery, vetivery, Tonkin musk with oak moss in the dry down. Doesn't sound like it's very complex, but it's made by Jean-Louis Suizac. Jean-Louis Suizac made some of my favorite fragrances of all time, okay? He made Bel Ami. He made Fahrenheit. He made Opium. That's all I should have to say. He made Opium, Bel Ami, and Fahrenheit. I mean, the guy is a god. And how I did not have this when it's a Jean-Louis Suizac, I have no freaking clue. But I didn't, and so very glad to have it now. Correct that wrong. So that is OR Black. Let me smell this. Let me smell this denim again. Oh yeah. Now it's really getting into that base. God, the base of this is a revelation. The base of Denim is so good. Let me smell Versailles Pour Homme. A little bit of those fruits are coming out with that greenness, and the oak moss is just gorgeous. And Cabochard, smoky. Beautiful though. I love all of these fragrances. These are the kind of stuff I really love to wear. Okay, OR Blacks in the book. Number 7. Number 7 I really struggled with where to put it because it's a flanker of one of my favorite fragrances of all time. And I do think it's probably one of the best Chypres made in the last decade, 2 decades. I don't know what you would call it. I don't know how you would judge that, but let's just say 15 years. We'll split the difference. It's the best Chypre made in the last 15 years. And it's called Bel Ami Vetiver. Okay, so Bel Ami Vetiver. What can I say about Bel Ami Vetiver? I mean, it literally is Bel Ami with Vetiver. And it's a Jean-Claude Elena. And God, he did a bang-up job with these two. I think I prefer Equipage Geranium to Equipage. And I have a vintage bottle of Equipage. But this is so good. It is a little bit sweeter than the original Bel Ami because I think he tried to maybe, you know, make it a little bit more palatable for modern noses. So if you smell Bel Ami and then you smell this is going to be a little bit sweeter. But, God, it's so good. I mean, the oak moss, the resins, bergamot in the top with that vetiver and leather. God, this could be a signature scent for me. I mean, it easily could. And rumor is this is not on the Hermès website. Someone in Europe was telling me that. And so if this is discontinued, I'm going to be really disappointed because I don't have a backup bottle. But okay, so next on the list, we've got number 6, and we've got one of the greatest leather fragrances of all time. It's a proper leather Chypre by the house of Robert Piguet. The perfumer is Germain Cellier, and this is Bandit. Now, this is the vintage eau de toilette. Look at how they used to do the batch codes back in the day. Like some drunk dude with a marker wrote it on. Aldehydes, oh my God, the opening of this is absolutely sick. This is one of the greatest openings of all time. Oh man, I could just sit here and just sniff this all day. Oh, fuck. If you've never smelled this, you do yourself a favor and try to find a bottle like this. It's only 50 ml, okay? But Bandit is so revolutionary. I mean, to think this was for women in 1944. Again, tarragon in the top. I'm telling you, tarragon is the secret ingredient in the top. With aldehydes, galbanum, slight floral bits here and there, gardenia, neroli, ylang orange, but really it just goes straight to this castoreum, smoky leather with myrrh, so it's kind of resinous and patchouli. And remember the other day I said fragrances without patchouli feel like when you throw them in the water they float, and fragrances with patchouli feel like they sink. This feels like it doesn't just sink, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and it's so dense and heavy that it just keeps going to the core of the earth. That's how thick this is. This is so, this is such an amazing fragrance. This is, and what's funny is on, this is a fragrance for women, okay? And on Parfumo, it says 71% of people that own this are men. This is a butch, in your face, you know, no holds barred. That's a good word for it. No holds barred leather. Oh, the castoreum in these fragrances is so good. Okay. Next, top 5. Top 5. Number 5, we've got one of my favorite leathers of all time. Well, this is, I guess I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. But but this is Guerlain's Derby. And Derby is a proper leather Chypre. I think it's probably a Spanish leather, so, you know, Great Britain is a Russian leather. This is probably a Spanish leather, I'm guessing, but, you know, it's still in that leather Chypre category. Bergamot, lemon, mugwort, and a slight peppermint note. Just a little bit. Slight peppermint. Pimento, rose, pepper, nutmeg, and jasmine. And there is something about the way that the spices in this play together. The pimento, the pepper, it's just, I mean, work of art. This is, I've said this before, but this is a CEO scent. This is a C-suite, top floor, you know, this is, you're on the millionth floor wearing Derby. I mean, you really are. And it's a shame it's discontinued. This is a 90s bottle. You know, you don't have to even find a vintage like this. You don't have to find an 80 or a 90s bottle. If you can find even the one from 2005 that Thierry Vasseur did, it's still amazing. You know, I have a decant of that. I will do a comparison video one day. I should do that before that decant dries up. But yes, it's trust me. I mean, this is posh shit. Leather, vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli, and oak moss. So even though it's posh, there is this you know, there's this masculine sophistication about it. This rough and tumble, right? It's like a guy wearing a tuxedo who once the event's over, he doesn't want to go to the, you know, he doesn't want to go to the high-end fancy steakhouse. He just wants to go to the bar and have a freaking burger. You know what I mean? But he's in a tuxedo because he was that important. He had to give the keynote event speech, right? That's the guy I picture doing this. He gives the keynote event speech, and when everyone else goes to the $500 a plate steakhouse, he says, "Fuck you guys, I'm going to the bar to get a burger." That's Derby. That is Derby in a nutshell. And then, number 4, we have PureDistance M. And I'm in love with this fragrance. I put it above Fetish and even Derby because of the DNA. There's something about this DNA. I don't know what it is. Something about the Bel Ami, Fetish, PureDistance M DNA that it just calls to me. I don't know what it is. It just, it's for me, I guess. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. And in this fragrance, Roja Dove apparently was the perfumer on. Bergamot, lemon, jasmine, rose, cistus labdanum, leather, moss, musk, patchouli, vanilla, vetiver, and cinnamon. And the rumor around the campfire is that the reason that this is discontinued is because Roja withheld important ingredients for them to be able to... I'm trying to see where the juice level is. Can I see it? Nope. Bottles too. Can't see through it. But apparently rumor around the campfire is Roja withheld a key ingredient for them to be able to make this. Like he was a supplier since he was the perfumer. So they had to discontinue it. I don't know if that's true or not. So don't come sue me, Roja. Don't throw your Louboutin slipper at me. I just am passing along a rumor. And but this is discontinued. And Roja's Fetish is still in production, apparently, but rumored to be discontinued. And this is spicy and leathery, and it's less focus on the smoke. So Fetish Pour Homme is more about the smoke and the, you know, LME and frankincense and that kind of feel. This is more focus on the leather and the resins, that labdanum with leather, right? And oh God, I'm so sad this is gone. I'm so sad more people did not get to experience PureDistance M before it was gone. It really is one of my favorites. That's why it's at number 4. Number 3 is the aforementioned Bel Ami. The 2 versions I will tell you to get are either the shaker bottle that looks like this. I have a 200 ml backup of this shaker bottle that I'm in love with. Fuck. This is my favorite fragrance of all time. So you might ask, why is your favorite fragrance of all time at number 3? Well, I wanted to rank what I would consider to be the proper leather Chypre Accord. I often said that this is my favorite version. This is the first reformulation of Bel Ami. And the reason that, someone took the sticker off, the reason that I say that this is my favorite version is because it just feels a little bit more refined. And I don't know how to explain it other than that. It feels like this is slightly a little rougher, a little more used, like, you know, like this is the underground, you know, sitting area on a high-end yacht that sat all winter and it hasn't had a chance to air out and be cleaned yet. Whereas this is that same sitting area, sparkling clean, you know, everything in its place, aired out. You don't get that cooped up smell. You know, you don't get the cooped up smell. Fuck, it's good though, man. These two formulations are the one I'd tell you to get, okay? The one that is in this bottle right here, I'd probably tell you to get Bel Ami Vetiver over Bel Ami. So Bel Ami comes in at number 3, and it does have bergamot, and it does have labdanum, and it does have leather, castoreum, and oak moss. So technically, it is a Chypre. Leathery and spicy. And just, it's so me. I mean, it is so me. It's brash, and it is forward. It's unforgiving. It is, you know, it's amazing. It's perfect for me. Number 2. Number 2, I decided to go with the great Antaeus. Because now, if I was ranking this for my favorites to wear, I think now Antaeus might be my favorite perfume. This and Bel Ami can duke it out, okay? These two can duke it out for my favorite. There's no other fragrance that can touch these two as far as the top spot. There's many fragrances that come close, 3rd or 4th, that I think are ultimately amazing, but I could never put them above these two because they're so good. For me, these are, Antaeus is, I crave this fragrance. You know, you ever have that where you just crave a fragrance? Antaeus is that fragrance for me. I crave this. I want to wear it all the time. I have to stop myself from wearing this all the time. Castoreum in the base. It does have that bergamot, labdanum, oak moss, you know, Chypre construction. Not many people talk about this as a Chypre, though. Maybe because the focus really is on that castoreum. This is the castoreum makes this. And the vintage bottle with the eau de toilette above Chanel with the silver on the cap on the top and the silver atomizer. The castoreum in this is jaw-dropping. It is so beautifully animalic, warmth, some slightly metallic, you know. The castoreum almost gives you a little feel like you're looking at the this metal piece right here, the sprayer. Man, and you know, there's this dark rose in Antaeus that comes to the forefront that there's just something, somehow, Francois Demachy and Jacques Pols created this dark rose that just, oh, it's amazing. And number 1, this is what I consider to be the perfect leather Chypre. I think it's the perfect representation of what a leather Chypre should be, okay? And this is why it's here. And you know what? It deserves to be here. And if you know me, you probably are not surprised this is here. If you're new to the channel, this may shock you a little bit. This is a woman's fragrance from 1969, and it is by the great Bernard Chant, same one who made Aramis and Cabochard. And there are comparisons between these 3. So all throughout the lineup, Bernard Chant's DNA, fingerprints are all over it. This is Azurēe by Estee Lauder. And this is all the juice I have left. I don't have any more. I don't have any backups. Mine does say Pure Fragrance Spray on the bottom. And this is the bottle that you want. the one that looks like this with this metal right here, this gold metal that goes down. And Azurēe is, my fucking God. It's, fuck. You know, there's this, like I said with the oak moss, when you smell a fragrance that has this DNA and the oak moss, the texture, like the fragrance is in 3D. Like you can step inside of this fragrance. This is one of the best examples of that phrase, step inside of a fragrance, I think I've ever smelled before. There is something that is just, not just addictive. Addictive is not the word, because you do want to continue to smell it, but there's almost something like inspiring. It's like, you know, listening to a good piece of classical music, or listening to a, you know, I don't know, like a sculpture being or watching a sculpture being sculpted, or a beautiful painting being painted, like a real work of art, a true genius, you know. This is, you know, you almost can do nothing but just sit back in awe and just let it play out, you know. It is, I can't believe women wore this, to be honest with you. I wish women would wear stuff like this again. But, fuck, man. I mean, this is the perfect specimen of the leather Chypre. This is the best example I could show you. If you said, I want to see the perfect, proper leather Chypre, Azurēe. This is one of the finest fragrances money can buy, in my opinion. So, hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Oh, Denim. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Obviously, I love this topic. Tomorrow, we will do the countdown for the top, I think it's going to be 20, maybe even 25, floral, green, and fruity Chypres. So the leather Chypre video is done. If you have leather Chypres I did not talk about, and again, there will be some in the list tomorrow that have a couple, you know, that have a little bit of a leathery dry down, but I decided to put them with the other list. You know, if you have some leather Chypres that are not on this list, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate the support. You guys are amazing. Hope you're getting something out of these videos. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye now.